The film begins with two siblings playing video games at night. Sister tells her brother to go to sleep, but he is afraid to go inside because he thinks a scary monster is hiding in his room. The sister searches his room, saying, "I've checked every corner. There is no monster in here." But suddenly, the door closes by itself, and the boy standing outside hears the terrifying sound of a monster. A monster bursts out of the room and chases the boy. It is then revealed that it was just a movie being watched by children in a theater. Marshall and his friend are there. The friend finds the movie too scary, so he gets up and leaves the theater. Marshall follows him outside. As soon as they are out, the friend's breathing gets heavy, so he uses his inhaler. Marshall asks him, "Why are you so scared?" He reminds him that Halloween is next Sunday. If he keeps being scared, how will he enjoy it? Marshall and his friend go to meet a girl who owns an antique shop. She tries to scare them while wearing a werewolf costume. After meeting them, she leaves and goes home. Marshall tells his friend that he must face his fear. He dares him to go ring Mr. Kabut's doorbell. The neighborhood children avoid Kabut because they think he is a killer. The friend gathers courage to ring the doorbell, but Kabut appears behind him. Terrified, he runs back to Marshall. Then they go home. That night, while Marshall is at his house, his mother invites her boyfriend over, and they have dinner. Marshall is upset by his arrival. He gets angry and leaves in the middle of the meal. A little while later, Marshall's mom comes to his room. She says, "I want to move on with my life." With that, she leaves. Just then, Marshall hears his friend on the walkie-talkie. The friend tells him to look out the window. They live near each other, and his friend sounds very nervous. Marshall quickly goes to the window. He sees Kabut's house, where two men are carrying a large box inside. Seeing this, the friend panics, thinking it is a dead body. But Marshall thinks for a moment and says it could be a statue. Kabut is always acting strange. The next day, Marshall and his friend meet a classmate and tell her about last night. The classmate says that she wants to be a reporter, but nothing interesting ever happens. They then go to the local museum for a school trip. During the visit, they see an unusual object, a mummy. The classmate notices something odd. The mummy is in a coffin, but another coffin next to it is empty. This means there were two mummies. The teacher explains that someone recently stole the second one. The story is that the two mummies were in love when they were alive. Their families couldn't separate them, so they were buried together forever. But yesterday, one was stolen. After the trip, Marshall suggests the mummy was stolen by Kabut. Hearing this, the classmate gets serious. She asks, "How big was the box at Kabut's house? How many people did it take to lift it?" Marshall answers, and she suspects that the mummy is in that box. They make a plan. That night, Kabut leaves, and the three kids enter his basement. But Marshall's friend is scared and stands near a lamp. Then, he spots a large box covered with a sheet. Slowly, he removes the sheet. He is shocked by what he sees. It is a mummy's coffin, and he is stunned. Then, he sees a locket around the mummy's neck. He reaches to look closer, but the mummy falls on him. He screams and runs to Marshall. Meanwhile, light from the lamp hits the locket, and the mummy slowly begins to move, coming to life. When the kids return to the basement, the mummy is gone. They think Marshall's friend is lying, but then the mummy appears right in front of them. Terrified, they run upstairs. The mummy follows them, but instead of harming them, it simply picks up the flashlight and returns it to the friend. The classmate realizes the mummy is not a threat. Just then, they hear Kabut's car. They leave the house. When Kabut goes to the basement, the coffin is empty. The mummy is missing. This disturbs him. Outside, the kids decide to hide the mummy at Marshall's house because it is following them. Marshall brings the mummy home and offers it pizza and hot sauce. The mummy is confused, but starts to enjoy the hot sauce. Marshall remembers an old friend named Harold who loved spicy food. Therefore, he names the mummy Harold. The next day, Marshall's mom leaves for work. Marshall goes to school and tells Harold to stay inside. But Harold goes outside and sees a bus. It has a picture of an Egyptian princess on it. Harold remembers his love from long ago. He reaches for the picture, but his bandage gets stuck on the bus. As it starts moving, Harold is dragged behind it. Meanwhile, when the kids arrive home after school, they cannot find Harold anywhere. They got to look for him. While wandering around, Harold ends up at the museum. Seeing the princess's picture, he goes inside. When the kids arrive, they suspect Harold went inside. So they go in. They find Harold there and secretly bring him out. Now they can't leave him there. The three take him to the antique shop. The shop owner takes a picture of the locket. She says there is something written on it. I will translate it for you. Meanwhile, Kabut meets the woman who helps steal the mummy. But the mummy is gone. Kabut explains, but she says, I need the money soon. She tells him to leave. Meanwhile, the shop owner translates the writing on the locket. She tells the kids that the locket says, moonlight brings the mummy to life. However, Harold must return to his coffin within 3 days, or he will turn to dust. Harold has been alive for 2 days. Only 1 day remains. They quickly go to Kabut's basement, but the coffin is missing. Kabut has moved it. In the basement, Kabut finds the friend's inhaler, which has his name on it. Kabut realizes the children stole the mummy. As everyone plans their next move, Kabut arrives with his gang and questions them. Marshall boldly replies, the mummy is behind you. Kabut turns around. Harold is standing there. The mummy then throws Kabut's men aside. The kids escape with Harold. They meet Marshall's mom's friend, who says, the coffin is at the ice cream factory. They ask the antique shop owner for help. However, she is at a festival, so they go there. Kabut learns the kids are at the festival and heads there. They find a shopkeeper and ask for help. Kabut and his men arrive and block the path. A man snatches the locket. Harold immediately turns back into a corpse. Kabut takes the mummy and leaves. He is followed by the others. At the factory, Kabut shows the mummy to a buyer. The buyer agrees and pays him. But Marshall and his friends have a plan. Harold must get in his coffin or he dies. But Harold is afraid. Marshall convinces him, and Harold moves forward. Then Marshall is caught. Marshall's friend hangs on a rope to grab the locket. Marshall catches it and throws it to Harold. As soon as the locket lands around his neck, he comes back to life. Then he attacks Kabut's gang, throwing them across the room. After this, they tie the bad guys up and run to the museum. Once there, Harold sees his love come back to life. They embrace each other. Afterward, they both lie down in their coffins to sleep forever. The news reports that the missing mummy returned on its own and lay down in the coffin. Kabut and his gang are arrested. Marshall and his mother's boyfriend become friends. Marshall realizes he is a good person who cares for his mother. They decide to be a happy family. The story ends happily.